So Marlene brought up a good question, and that was based on what Tamar said. What do they do with people like Dvorah, the prophetess? Not my wife. That's Dvorah, the Sarayim, ladies that were leading the whole nation. The answer that I've received from such people is that those were almost freak accidents. They were very select exceptions in history where there were ladies that took such charge and okay, listen, we don't suffer from the same malady that they suffer from, and so we'll start off. Today's Chanukah. We've been discussing, women and Judaism and being a rabbi and such things. The question of can a lady be a rabbi must first be prefaced by can a lady study Torah?
Right.
Can she? Now, last week the reaction was, what do you mean, can she? What is going on here? This discussion obviously is not as simple as we would like it to be. And not necessarily because it can't be so simple, but because people chose for it to not be so simple. If anyone wants something to drink, this water is from last night, but there's a water cooler over there, and there are cups on the table. It has hot water and cold water, and there's tea on the table also.
That is very good because the lemon has infused
Oh,
into it.
okay, so you could have... It's okay. The story of Chanukah actually began. Yeah.
If Hashem gave the Torah to the Jewish people, how could you say He just gave it to half of the Jewish people? So if you're not allowed to study it, it means it doesn't really.
Well, the Torah itself records the Torah was given twice, once to the men and once to the women. The Torah itself does record it.
The women got
Very
it
good.
first.
The woman got it
We
first.
have a right to study it.
The Torah says
to study it. They gave it. Moshe gave it to us.
first the Torah was given to Bet Yaakov, and then it was given to Bnei Yisrael.
Where was that?
You look in the parashiyot where the Torah was given.
The Torah was given at Mount Sinai.
And at Mount Sinai, it says the Torah was given first to Bet Yaakov and then to the children of Israel.
So how could a rabbi know that?
And the Talmud says, so what does it mean? What does it mean? Bet Yaakov versus Bnei Israel. Bet Yaakov is the name of the collective group of women of the Jewish people, which is why the Orthodox school system is very often referred to as Bet Yaakov. The idea is that this was the first initial giving of the Torah. So how do you get out of that? You say something very simple. Hashem gave a watered down version of the Torah to the ladies first because they were not able to handle what came next, right?
No,
Don't say it.
No, it's like
But it's what we're all thinking, everyone.
woman because he's so men and he's, so he's decided.
this is not a universally accepted opinion, is it? This is just a minority opinion. What you just said, yes.
I told you we're opening up a can of worms.
It's
Yes.
good.
And I want to tell you why this is a can of worms. The reason this is a can of worms, there's certain issues in Judaism that are taboo subjects. This is one of them. And you might think, why is it taboo? We're in the 21st century. We're still... The reason is, even though the world has progressed to a certain place, for the good, for the bad, for the irrelevant, some teachings have progressed with it. Some haven't. The social norms in most communities have progressed with the world. But just because the social norms have progressed with the world doesn't mean that if you would push someone up against the wall and say in an ideal world, how would it look like for you, they would tell you the way it looks right now. Understand what I'm telling you? You might have a situation where there are classes for ladies and there are ladies who are teaching Torah and you can ask two different people and one will tell you this is amazing. We've moved light years ahead of where we once were. And someone else will tell you, you know what, we did this only because feminism took over and because the world was doing it, so we just couldn't hold back anymore. And those two camps exist today as strong as they ever would. You just don't really know them because rarely do you bump into a community like those small little enclaves in New York where ladies really don't learn, or they really don't study, or they really don't have teachers, or rarely do you bump into such a community. So when you talk about the community outside, you must split it down the road. Both of them act the same. Both of them, ladies study Torah. Both of them have even ladies who teach Torah. Both of the question is, in an ideal world, would it look like this? For you? Not for you. For them? Some people will say yes. Some people will say no, we were forced into this position. And you'll have the question of, so what are they studying? What are they studying?
What's the objection for a woman to study Torah?
That's what we're here for today. But to get there, you know, somebody told me last week, like, Rabbi, I can't believe we're only talking about this now. You're like 4 years too late, we've been studying together. I said, good, so I already made my opinion clear 4 years ago what I think about this topic. But just for the sake of going through Jewish sources, I'm going to take you through the whole timeline. Bear with me. Don't get stuck when you see something that sticks out, because it's meant to stick out and it's meant to reach some conclusion at the end. But first and foremost, we have a very basic concept in Judaism. Mitzvot that are time-bound mitzvot. Mitzvot aseh shazman gama. Commandments that a person must do that have time limits on them. Men are obligated in them, and ladies are not obligated in them. 2 years ago, I gave you this class in the sukkah outside. What does it mean she's not obligated? Can she do them, but she doesn't have to do them? Or does she really just not have to do them? I mean, there's no ideal for her to reach that level of doing them. So we had that discussion then. It's not the discussion for now. The question is, if that's true, so what about the lighting of Hanukkah candles? Is this a time-bound mitzvah? Is this a time-bound mitzvah?
Yes, it is.
Can you light Hanukkah candles next week?
No.
I mean, once Hanukkah's over, it's over. And therefore, this should be one of those mitzvot that ladies are not obligated in. Yet the poskim say, oh, very good. So say the poskim, this is one of those exceptions. She'af hen hayu b'oto hanes, that they were also part of the active part of this miracle. Like Purim. Purim is also a time-bound mitzvah. Also, why is a lady obligated to hear Megillah? Now, remember last year I gave you this class. Sfaradim believe that a lady is also obligated to read the Megillah for herself. Even if there's no menrat, she must do it herself. Whereas the Ashkenazim, their opinion is, they don't have to read, but they have to hear.
Yes.
Which would make the blessing different. One would say Likro al Mikra Megillah, and one would say al Shmiyat Megillah, on hearing versus on reading. Different understandings of these halachot. But,
I have a question.
yes.
How does anyone know that these women comply?
Which woman complied?
The ones that aren't supposed to read the Torah,
Mommy.
study Torah.
Oh, that's a good question. We're going to be doing that together.
I would cheat.
Glad you shared.
You know, Palet, if you wouldn't have said that, I would have never guessed that you would have cheated. Here I thought you just followed all the rules in the book. So how did this story happen? What miracle took place on Chanukah? The ladies are actually responsible. The whole war of Chanukah began by a woman. Who was she? Yehudit. What happens? I have a whole book here about Yehudit and her story. And the whole Megillah that was written about her. All kinds of beautiful things. You know the story? Someone tell me the story of Yehudit.
She took the head of the ruler.
Of the ruler. How did she do it? She got him drunk with milk, okay?
Wine.
And cheese, right? All kinds of opinions. And she cut off his head.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was the sister
Pre-ISIS. Pre-ISIS.
She was the daughter of
ISIS have a good excuse now.
She was the daughter of Matityahu, Kohen Gadol, and she's the one who started the war. So it's not that ladies are secondary in the commandment of lighting Chanukah. A Jewish lady is the one who started this war. And so in this commandment, a lady is also obligated in it.
So she cut off his head?
Yeah.
It's one of those stories they didn't tell you in Hebrew school.
Really? Oh, you like have to saw it? She killed him, so before she killed him, he was the leader of the Cypriots or the Greeks?
That being said, let's look at our source. I have some papers to hand out. Some of it is in Hebrew, some of it is in English. I ask you not to read ahead. What I do ask you is if they're not enough for everybody here, just share. Excuse me. You take the top 2 papers. So it's 4 pages, but on 2 papers. And yeah, I'll get to them. We'll get to them.
Okay. So she did this because she wanted
Some of it has English, some of it has Hebrew.
about to get married. The king Caesar had to try her first.
Really?
Yeah. She was supposed to get married to the daughter of Hunter.
And he wanted to, but he wasn't the head of the Jews, he was the
They
head
did
of
that in Poland also.
It was the Roman.
Yes, that's right.
It was none like pages for
You
me.
need 150.
I'm ready for one page.
I only got the.
These 2 pages are together. Are there any more pages anywhere?
We can search it.
Okay.
You can let them share.
We can share.
So where is the commandment in the first place of learning Torah? Who says you have to learn Torah? Maybe you just have to read it on Shabbat. Maybe who says that you have an obligation? Anybody. Who has an obligation to study Torah? It must start somewhere. The Torah itself tells us that it must be studied. Where does it tell us? You say it in Shema every day. It says on the first source on the right page, on the top right of page 1. You should teach your sons, telling them, when you are sitting in your home, when you are walking on the road, when you lay down, and when you stand up. Says the Torah, you have an obligation to teach it says sons in there, banecha, Torah all the time. Walking, talking, sleeping, standing, sitting. You have an obligation to study Torah. You should know that the word ben, benechem, bnei Yisrael, is not always just referring to men. It's not. For example, in Hebrew, I know today already the politically correct world is taking control, but in the original forms of Hebrew, when you refer to a group of men, you refer to them as atem, with a mem at the end. To a group of ladies, you refer to them as aten, and if it's men and women together, you go back to aten, to the plural always is in masculine. Alright? And the same thing would be with children. Sometimes you'll see it says to bless him with banim. Banim doesn't necessarily mean sons. It could also mean daughters. It's a shorter way to just say, instead of saying banim uvanot, banim can include also sons. So every time in the Torah you see this word, daughters, yeah, thank you. Every time you come to this word ben as a son in Hebrew, you have to ask yourself, does the Torah mean only sons? Or does it mean children and it's just using the generic word for children in the Torah? This is going to be at the root of the argument until today. Is the Torah, does it single out the word ben because it wants to only talk about men have an obligation to study Torah? Or ben here means I'm your fat Abba, that's what you did? Yeah.
You're showing there you are.
Uh-huh.
Showing up.
And that being said, the only way to discover is there an obligation for a lady to study Torah, is to ask yourself the question, for what purpose do we study Torah?
To be connected to Hashem.
Yeah.
But also to the halachot.
Okay, so there are two sides of this coin. And there is one side of to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to connect to Hashem. You can connect to Hashem through prayer, not just through learning. You can connect to Hashem through meditation, not just through learning. You can connect to Hashem by doing things. The reason for why we study Torah, the most, it's not because learning Torah is not to connect to Hashem, but it's not its only purpose. Its main purpose is so that you can know what to do. How are you going to know how to keep Shabbat if you've never studied about Shabbat? How are you going to know the laws of kosher if you've never studied kosher? How are you going to know how to light a Chanukiah if you never studied about Chanukah? And therefore, practically, do you have an obligation to light Chanukah candles? Yes. So then how are you going to know how to light Chanukah candles if not through learning about it? Okay, so from here you understand that if a person is obligated to do something, they must also be allowed to study the Torah that tells them how to do it, right? This makes sense, no? If you have to drive a car, you're allowed to read the owner's manual as to how to... Someone can't say, you have to drive this car, but you can't go to driving school. You can't do such a thing. And therefore, we're going to look through various places in the Torah to see, are women actually obligated to keep halakha or not? Now you might say, why are we even having this discussion? Why? Not us here, but why do you have to ask this question? Remember last week I gave you a whole class on the Gemara, what the Gemara, how it works? Mm-hmm. The Gemara very often asks questions that it already knows the answer to. The only reason it's asking is is in order to...
Some conversation to some dialogue.
Yeah, let's start the conversation somewhere, and let's start at the roots. For example, the first page of the Talmud says, from when do you read Shema? When are you allowed to read Shema at night? From when 3 stars come out, or from when... And how long do you have to read? That's what the Mishnah says. Comes the Gemara and says, wait a second. Who says that I even have an obligation to read the Shema? You're telling me that when can I read the Shema? You're telling me when... But I'm telling you, I don't even know that I need to read the Shema, right? So, says the Talmud, how do you know that I have to say Shema Yisrael? Where does it say that? How many of you say Shema Yisrael every day? Okay, you don't know where it says it? Very good. The first source that you have to do Shema, you can read Shema anywhere you are, but it has to be b'shokbecha uvkumecha. When you go down to bed at night, meaning at night, and then once uvkumecha in the morning when you wake up. That's how you know you have to read Shema twice, at least twice. Okay. So you would say, why does the Gemara have to ask such a silly question? Like, who says you have to read Shema? It's written in the Torah. The Gemara asks only in order to paint a complete picture for you. So we're asking the question, from where do we know that women are obligated to keep mitzvot? It's a silly question because we know that women are obligated to keep mitzvot, but we have to look at our sources. Then based on our sources, we'll come out to a different understanding of what's about to come. The train hasn't hit you yet because you haven't seen some of the sources in the bottom of this page. Some of these sources, we're going to get there very quickly. Mishnah and Kiddushin says there are certain commandments that women are obligated in, and certain commandments they are not obligated in. But imagine that there were commandments that a woman is obligated in. What does that tell you?
That they have to learn about it.
That they have to learn about it. They have to learn about it. And therefore you cannot tell me that women cannot study Torah. Rather, what can you try to tell me?
That women can study.
They can say Torah, but if you wanted to oppress a woman and limit her Torah study...
They only study what they have to.
Okay, Tamar is saying they only can study what they need to know. That's what you can you say such a thing?
No, you can, but I mean that would be very narrow-minded.
Yeah, right. I asked you to be narrow-minded, though. I asked you to look at this teaching and tell me what's the most... You cannot say that women are not allowed to study Torah. It's just an impossibility because you already see that the Mishnah is telling you that women have to keep halachot.
I agree.
And so therefore, if I wanted to restrict somebody, the most that I could restrict them is by telling them, you're not allowed to study about the things that are not relevant to you.
So a woman needs to be, I'm saying, empty of the knowledge of what God actually provided to the Jewish people. Only half.
Well, we didn't get to that. We didn't get to that opinion yet.
Sounds like that.
We're going to get to that opinion together, Ariella. And then if you are angry in your blood, that is the whole point of this class.
You know, it's interesting that you got just now about Shmai's land. I don't know the source, and I don't follow the mitzvah as they are. But to me, when I heard that, this is something that I'm practicing, not because I studied it, because it sounds right. It brings something that you connected to Hashem. So, I don't know sources. It's not necessarily have to be written. It's something that it's right. It feels.
That's true. Imagine if somebody told me I was a police officer and I pulled them over on the street. License and registrations. I don't have a license.
Mommy.
Why are you driving a car? Tells me because I felt that I should be driving a car. So
You're right when it comes to physical law, and you're right when it comes to spiritual.
I'm not trying to be right. I'm trying to tell you that obviously there are things that we do because we feel a certain way. But when it comes to recording them, we have to record them with sources. And so, of course, you could say Shema without... You don't have to know the source of Shema in order to say Shema. If Shema is what does it for you, that's what you should be doing. But the answer for why...
We cannot do halachot just because it feels. We have to do halachot because we're told.
Told to by rabbis,
No.
or told to by the Torah.
By the Torah.
By the
But
Torah.
I'm saying it never comes from the feeling. It's
Well,
just
no, the
What
motivator...
about davening? Davening, people daven to Hashem,
The
whether
way
it's
you
written
daven.
or not, or...
the way you daven, it's
Correct.
different. But to daven, it's a mitzvah, or whatever.
All right, but so people daven any time of day and night,
Yeah,
all
you don't have to
different,
read
you
the
know,
words
you
of the
don't
Torah.
have to know anything.
Let me-
It's a natural...
So let's say I daven day and night.
I mean,
But no, I do. But I don't say Shema. I don't say Shema. I don't say the Shemona Esrei. I don't say the basic parts of tefillah that I must say. So yes, I did fulfill a mitzvah of prayer. I did do that. But I didn't fulfill the mitzvah of prayer. Because I did things that I didn't need to do that were good for me, so I did accomplish my goal, but I didn't accomplish it in the same formula that I was supposed to accomplish it through. And so there are two elements here. Definitely a person who just prays because I have to pray. What kind of prayer is that? Wait, you do it because someone put a gun to your head, so you have to pray. Pray now. What kind of emunah or concentration are you going to have when you pray like that? So that's where you come in. You have to have some kind of feeling about it. But at the end of the day, if I had a student who would listen, we don't want to come to the synagogue. We want to stand on the roof of the building and look out at La Jolla with our arms spread apart and sing, the Tumba Lalai, whatever we're going to sing up there. And that's how I pray. So it could be that that's how you pray. That's how you're going to pray after we finish praying inside of the synagogue. And then you can do whatever you want. But there has to be both elements of this coin. I agree with you completely. And one is called a maseh, an action, a mitzvah. And one is called kavanah, having an intention. And our rabbis tell us that a blessing that you make without any kavanah, without the proper feeling or intention behind it, is keguf b'li neshama. It's like a body without a soul. So yes, the body, you made the body, but it's still a dead body. So the body's there. It's a person. It's a dead person. So you have to have both sides of this. Just like a soul without a body, a lot of feeling and connection, but not the action to go along with it, is like a soul that doesn't have the body to go into. The soul exists, but I'm not able to relate to it properly because it's not in a physical form. So both sides of these coins are accurate. But where is the origin of today's fight? It's from a Mishnah in Masechet Sotah. Who is the Sotah? Tell me.
So wife that was suspected of being unfaithful and gave her respect.
Okay, there's a wife who was suspected of being unfaithful. Tell me the story. What happened?
So the husband takes her to the Kohen.
Wait, first, on what grounds can he take her to the Kohen? A man doesn't like that his wife keeps hanging out with Mr. So-and-so in his living room.
There have to be two witnesses.
Witnesses for what?
That they were alone and that they were alone in a secluded room.
It's enough?
No, they have to have witnesses.
They have to be doing something. No, I think
No, I don't think he has to have witnesses. I think he only suspects her.
We just take people to the Beit Mikdash to get killed without any due process?
Obviously, because of the process, people didn't do it.
Let me tell you how this works in halakha. In halakha, this is unanimous in all of halakha. No one is guilty of a crime unless they were warned that what they're doing is a crime in front of a competent two witnesses or in a court of law. So, if I see someone speeding down the road, according to Jewish law, I'm not allowed to give them a ticket. I can't. Until I first drag them to two witnesses or to a court or in front of two police officers, and I say, listen to me carefully. What you did is a violation of law. Next time I catch you, you're going to get a ticket. You cannot ever, in Jewish law, take a person to any kind of trial or process unless they have first been warned publicly and correctly that what they're doing is incorrect. Because a person has the right to say, I didn't know what I was doing was wrong. This is more than any American law gives you.
It says
Right, well, this idea of lack of, there's a word for it. Ignorance of the law is not, there's a phrase, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
It's not an excuse for the law. That's true, meaning a person is still obligated with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You didn't know, but you still didn't live your life properly. That's between them and God. In order for a beit din, a court in the Jewish system, to meet any kind of penalty to that person, there must have been hatara'ah. Hatara'ah is warning first. And then the action has to be repeated after being warned in front of two witnesses that were kosher witnesses that saw him or her or anyone doing this action after they were warned.
But this will not apply like to a killer, for example. I mean, I'm going to the extreme. Okay, next time you cannot kill, and next time, and if he kills, and he has to be in the front of the two witnesses. I mean,
So you're going to have to see, you're right. Where do the laws of hatara'ah apply?
yeah.
How often do we warn people? What is the word? Maybe a warning is done in school in front of everybody when they're 2 years old, and these are good questions to have. In the story of a sotah, if a man is suspecting his wife, I don't like that you're hanging out with Mr. So-and-so in his bedroom, what he must do is take her for a conversation. Listen, I don't appreciate what you're doing. She has to have the ability to say, what you think I'm doing is not true. I'm just going because he's a shoe repairman and I'm bringing my shoes to his house and he works out of his living room. That's what she has to have the option to explain herself. If at that point she still decides she's going to keep doing it, and her husband is jealous of this, whatever's going on with the other man, he takes her to the Beit HaMikdash after 2 witnesses found her, and he takes her and the 2 witnesses to the temple in Yerushalayim. And there's a very gruesome ceremony that goes on over there. Of which I'll spare all the details, but she's brought to the Beit HaMikdash. She goes through a very degrading process.
I want the details.
You can open up the Chumash and read it for yourself. Her hair is uncovered. She walks here, she walks there, the whole thing. He's with her in this whole ceremony. At the end, they take Hashem's name and they erase Hashem's name into water, which you're not ever allowed to erase Hashem's name, but Hashem says to make peace between a husband and a wife, my name is worth being erased. They erase the name into the water, and she drinks from the water. And if she was innocent and her husband was simply a jealous man who caused her life to be miserable, then not only does she come out okay, but she gets blessed with all kinds of blessings. The Torah puts abundant blessings on her head, more than anybody else. If you remember the story of Hannah and Eli, she used this against him. I'm going to make you jealous. I'm an innocent lady. I'm going to go to the Beit HaMikdash. I'm going to drink this water and I'm going to be more blessed than I was today. And if not, if Khalila, she really was cheating on her husband, there was something going on, the water blows up in her stomach, and also the man who was with her, also him, the same thing happens to him, and the gruesome story ends over there. At any point in time, she had the choice to opt out of this discussion. If she would have admitted to saying, listen, I cheated on you, you told me once not to and I did it again, and this situation, she didn't have to go through this whole process. But when she maintained her innocence in a situation like that, she goes through the process in the Beit HaMikdash. Now, I'm not here to talk to you about Sultan. When you want to talk about this and the ramifications of it, we're going to talk about it when it comes to the parasha and the Torah, when we talk about it Sultan. I'm happy to have this discussion. Yeah?
I have one question. What happens if she was caught with somebody who wasn't Jewish? Would that still go to the Beit Din?
These are details on halakha that I don't know offhand. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, because I want to know whether you can go to the Beit Din with somebody who isn't Jewish. Does the Beit Din handle things like that?
Yeah, for sure the Beit Din handles it. The question, if it handles it in the same way.
I'm sorry, what happens if she admits that she did it?
So then probably they would just they would divorce, and she wouldn't be allowed to be with her husband, and she wouldn't be allowed to be with the man that she was cheating with. Meaning everybody loses that in the story. The Torah takes cheating as a very serious prohibition. But I'm not here the details of Sudah put aside. The source of anything, of women can they study Torah or not, is found in this Mishnah. And if any of you are like sitting here, I don't understand what's going on here. Are these Jewish books? They're spiritual books. What are you talking about? This is what we do all day long in the Yeshiva. This. Some people might find this extremely boring. This is what's done. You go through sources and you analyze them and you take them apart and you rip them to pieces and then you go through this generation and that generation. How do they see it? How do they understand it? And you put together this huge picture and then you try to come to some kind of conclusion with all the information that you have. And the most frustrating part of this style of learning is you don't come to a conclusion until the end. Because you can't conclude anything now. You don't know enough now to conclude anything. So you have to ask all the questions now, but the answers will come out as we keep moving. So the Mishnah says, it's a third source on the right side. Ena mispeket lishtot, she will not even have a time to finish drinking this cup. Ad shepaneha morikot, until her face becomes disfigured. Ve'enea boltot, and her eyes bulge out of her head. Okay, this is a...
But hang on, this is just plain water.
With Hashem's name.
Unless they poison it.
No, it has Hashem's name erased into it.
God's name.
Yes, okay, but it's plain water.
Yeah, plain water. Yes.
So it's a bit eyes devoured and...
This is supposed to be some kind of miraculous ceremony. Okay.
Erase God's name in Jim.
Okay, but Paulette, the assumption that we go with, Rabbi Shamshon Farher says, when you read the Torah, you can feel whatever you want, but when you read the Torah, you have to read the Torah as it was meant to be written. And in this situation, this is considered purely miraculous. There's no physical defect with this water because it works for some people and it doesn't do it to other people. and that is purely based on their innocence or their guilt. And so there's no court here that's deciding whether it's the water with Hashem's name that is, so to speak, deciding for itself who is innocent and who isn't. So in this Mishnah, it says, Im yesh la zechut, if she is meritorious, she's innocent, hayta tolala, the zechut, this merit would stand for her, and she would be protected. Yesh zechut tola shana echat, yesh zechut tola shtei shanim, yesh zechut tola shalosh shanim. So there are all kinds of zechuyot. Maybe she's even guilty, but she merited some great deeds in her past that stand for her. Some great deeds will last for a year, some for 2 years, some for 3 years. What this Mishnah means is very cryptic. But listen to the end of the Mishnah. Mikan Omer Ben Azai. From here, Ben Azai says, who is Ben Azai? Some of you Kabbalistically inclined people might know his name. Okay, but who was he? Why is he not called by his first name? Why is he not called Rabbi even? Ben Azai. Yeah. So some say he never got married, and some say he was never ordained as a rabbi. Both of them are not necessarily true. He was referred to, he didn't have a first name. In the Talmud there are 2 rabbis that are referred to without their first names. Either when he wrote this he was a very young man and he wasn't married and he didn't have rabbinic ordination. I think his name was, Chama mentions in the Mishnah. Ben Azai says, Chayav Adam lamed et bito Torah. A man must teach his daughter Torah. Even if it's for the very simple reason, she'im tishtes, that when she's drinking this cup, Tedash zechut tolala, she should know that she has merits that can protect her. Meaning, it's not fair to put a woman through something that she doesn't comprehend. You can't make a lady stand in front of a court, go to the Beit HaMikdash, do all kinds of things that she never heard about. And from here, and this is a crazy place to learn it from. So, but you must teach your daughter that there are things that she's going to go through in her life, that she needs all kinds of experiences, and you have to teach it to her now. Because it's not fair for her to go through this experience and to not know. Ben Azai is our friend, okay? Remember him for the good. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, in comes Rabbi Eliezer, and he says, Kol ha-melamed et bito Torah, anyone who teaches his daughter Torah, Ki'ilu melameda tiflut. It's as if he teaches her, and the word tiflut is a hard word to translate. Like many words in Hebrew, it has different meanings in different contexts. And here the context is not clear. It's like the word shalom can mean hello and goodbye, and it can mean peace, and it can mean all kinds of things. Like one word, you could come up with 3 different words for hello, goodbye, peace. In Hebrew, there are certain words that they're versatile, depending on the situation they're in. Tiflut, and its worst meaning could be some kind of sexual promiscuity. You're teaching her Torah, you're teaching her to be an improper, immodest woman. How does that make you feel?
Terrible. It doesn't even make sense for a rabbi to say that. I mean, if he's a rabbi.
So let's try to understand it like this. You want to see what Rashi says? Like that, right? That's what Rashi says? Rashi says...
Rabbi, isn't it like...
Tefillin with a... It's not the same word. That's with a tet. You're right. Rashi says, Ki'ilu, it doesn't say he's teaching her promiscuity, but it's as if he's teaching her that. That's what the Mishnah says, Ki'ilu. Okay, so it's not as bad as teaching her to be sexually promiscuous, but it's like you are. It's still not a nice thing to say, right? Let's see what Rashi doesn't make it any better. Says Rashi, Ki'ilu. Now, Rashi, you have to know, Rashi is not an expresser of opinions. He's not a posek. He's not a halachic decisor. Rashi has one task at hand. What is Rashi's task?
in a simple way?
To explain what this piece means, not what he feels about it. He's not that kind of commentator. No what?
Just repeating the note of what we're saying, I guess.
He's not giving his opinion. Rashi is just telling you, if you were to read this, what does it mean? Says Rashi, Shemetocha, because through the study of Torah, he mevina armumit. She understands trickery. She understands how to be sly. V'osad dvareha behatznea, and then she's able to do all kinds of improper things through these tricky means. I want to tell you what it means.
So basically,
one says it's better that she knows so she knows what she's about to, and one says if she knows, she'll use it
Oh,
to be careful.
Yeah,
And,
so-
And she
what
will use the
exactly?
knowledge.
And what exactly she knows?
the whole halachot of sotah. She'll know how to get off the
How to
hook.
get away with it.
I'll explain to you what it
Okay,
means.
so it's relating to that.
Yes.
That's
Sutta.
what Rashi said. Yes.
Okay.
Torah study, you might think is a very holy endeavor. There are parts of Torah that are very deep and holy. There are parts of Torah that are all about legal loopholes. I mean, have you ever heard a rabbi give a halacha class? You could do this if you do it like that. If you can have chametz if you sell it to a non-Jew. I don't know. You could all kinds of things.
Yes.
You know this side of the Torah. It's not the same Torah as God created the world in 7 days and there was light and it was good, and it's a different kind of Torah. Okay. Now let's say yes. Why don't we try yes?
So why is it okay to mention?
Wait, we didn't get there yet. That's a good question. We didn't get there. Let me say what I'm saying first. So this being said, Torah is dangerous. A rabbi say in Masechet Sanhedrin that if you give it up to a rabbi and you say, Rabbi, I have a pig. I want you to make this pig kosher. Can a rabbi make a pig kosher? No?
You can't take out a certain grade.
The Talmud says, Kan devarim. There are 150 ways l'taher et hasheretz, to make pure that which is impure. If you have good head on your shoulders and you have a good rational, logical thinking, you have rational thinking, you can prove anything in the world is good. You can stand up for all kinds of terrible, corrupt things through your intellect. I mean, if you would like to see, look at the Nazi party in Germany. Had some big gun philosophers and thinkers and visionaries that were with them that justified every single thing that they did. Kan derachim, there are 150 ways with the hair sheretz. Torah study, the Talmud says, could either be a greatest gift that you would have in your body, or it could be poisonous to you, the Torah says. It depends how you use it. Rashi seems to understand that Rabbi Eliezer is saying that a lady will use the Torah in order to get around things. Why are we picking on ladies? That's Marlene's question. What about men? Are they not picking, or they're not going to use it to get around things? How many Rebbitzins do you know who are sitting in jail for tax evasion? How many rabbis are sitting in jail for tax evasion? How many Rebbitzins do you know who are accused of sexual assault on people? How many rabbis do you know are accused of sexual assault on people? If anything, it seems like that it's the men that are doing all these things.
No.
Mommy doesn't do that.
Mommy doesn't do that. That's what he's saying.
Not for me.
So the Talmud of Masechet Sotah says something very interesting. That really nobody's allowed to study Torah. Wait, do you understand what I'm telling you? Really nobody's allowed to study Torah. The Talmud, Rabbi Avahu, in the name of Rabbi Eliezer, the same rabbi. According to him, nobody's allowed to study Talmud. Nobody's allowed to study Torah, ever. Because Torah can corrupt you. You're going to use the same logic that Torah uses to sell your chametz on Pesach to a non-Jew, but you're going to say, oh, you know what I can do? I can eat not kosher food, I'm just going to sell my stomach to a non-Jew for the next 24 hours. No, maybe you'll do that. And then I was talking about, the restaurant, all kinds of things you're going to come up with. And Rabbi Eliezer says nobody's allowed to study Torah, except for people who are committed to living a certain lifestyle of Torah, that they're going to read the sources and they're not going to corrupt them, and they're going to live a life where he recalls it, someone who will be naked aside from his Torah. It's almost as if their whole being is Torah. And from here I would like to suggest a different understanding, the way I received from my rabbis, is what does it mean, Ki'ilu melamed et bito tiflut? What is tiflut? That's not sexual promiscuity. But it seems like not important things, but not from the word tafel. I'll tell you what I mean. Who here knows what daf yomi is? Daily Talmud study, right? You do 1 page of Talmud a day, and then after 7.5 years, you finish the Talmud. This was invented in Lublin. Rabbi Meir Shapira of Lublin said people should be finishing Talmud every year, every 7.5 years. They should know the Talmud once. The problem is to study the Talmud when you're in yeshiva. You study at best, at most, 10 pages of Talmud a year. And when you do the fast, there's two tracks. In every yeshiva, there's the in-depth study, which is really what you learn, and then the side study, which is going through the pages fast. You'll never study in a year more than about 60 pages of Talmud. So what you're saying is your average rabbinic student or scholar studying between 10 to 60 pages of Talmud a year to understand it. But your guy who works from 8 till 6 in a high-tech company and in the last hour he's barely awake, he's going to sit at a table with some rabbi, and the rabbi is going to teach him 365 pages of Talmud a year in 1 hour. Because they have 1 hour a night to finish a whole page of Talmud. And what took us in yeshiva 3.5 months, they do in 1 hour. And it makes you ask a very interesting question. Is it really worth studying Daf Yomi? Are you really going to get anything out of it?
I think most people just read it just
It's
as
like
they
a
live and they
summary.
don't study it.
Yeah.
I don't think they study it, they just read it.
Yeah, but look what we're doing just on one article here,
I
we're
don't think
trying
it's,
to break it
meant,
down.
it's meant to have the same discussion in every yeshiva.
Really?
So then it begs
It's not possible
the
to do it. I
question.
think people do it because, they do get something out of it.
But it begs the question.
Your father did it.
My
Why
father
did
did
he
it
do
twice.
Yeah, why did he do it?
I'll tell you something about my father though. Right before this class, I didn't know what this Mishnah. There was something about the Mishnah I had a question on. Someone told me. I was just on the phone with my father.
Yes.
I said, Abba, I know you're at work. I need 2 minutes of your time. The Mishnah Masechet Kiddushin. It's in the first chapter. What does it mean? And he told me what it meant. My father, he can learn things a lot faster than 7.5 years, and he remembers them. Most people, myself included, are not like my father. So my father did it, but I don't know that it worked for anybody else. It works for other people, but not everybody. I'm not taking it away from them. The question is, if the whole point of studying Torah is either to connect to Hashem, or to learn Torah in order to know what to do, right? Do you accomplish any of that by speeding through Talmudic teachings at 65 miles an hour?
Probably not, generally.
The whole argument between Rabbi Yosef and
Oh, very good. So this is an old Sephardic and Ashkenazi argument. Should people even be studying Talmud? Forget ladies studying Talmud. Should men study Talmud? It's a useless book. What do I mean to you by that? If you have all day long to sit and study Talmud and Chumash and Shulchan Aruch and the Rambam, fine. So you have the luxury to study a book which is purely logical, debate, back and forth. But if you're a person, you have 2 hours a day to learn Torah. You have an hour a day. You have 2 hours a week to study Torah. Is the best use of your time on a connection to Hashem level or on a practical, what do I do level to study the Talmud? Or would you be better off studying Talmud?
But if you study,
Torah like Chumash, would you be better off studying Halakha, Jewish law? Would you be better off studying Machshava, Jewish philosophy, things that are practical and relevant to your life?
if you study Daf Yomi, so you get an overview, you know what's in there. So what you know what's there. So when you have a question, then you have to go to somebody who really studied it in depth, maybe to get the answer.
Do you know anybody who studies Daf Yomi?
Yeah, my son.
Yeah, there's a whole, that has a whole group of
Do you know anybody? Yes.
Yeah.
Ask them what they studied 2 months ago.
So why are they learning it then?
No, I'm not taking it away. I told you my father did Daf Yomi. My friends do Daf Yomi. I'm not against the concept.
Some people really.
The question, if
Maybe
I...
they get 3 things out of it that are impactful for them for their life, and that's good.
And so it's not right for me to judge them that they're not getting enough.
Exactly.
See, so Paulette's right. There is that camp which says, what do you want for that? Look, they're dedicating an hour. They're getting something out of it or they wouldn't be there. So they're not getting as much as they could be getting if they were studying something else. They didn't ask you. Okay, that's true. That's why I'm not criticizing anybody who studies Daf Yomi. But the truth is that if you study the Talmud, the laws of Shabbat in the Talmud, you can study Tractate Talmud for 10 years, Tractate Shabbat, and you won't know how to light Shabbat candles. And you won't even know if you could put on your food on the hot plate or not. It's a very long, deep, complicated, sophisticated book. You want to know how to keep the laws of Shabbat? What book should you study? Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law. The Rambam, Maimonides, he already spelled it out for you. What are you wasting your time breaking your head on sources that everyone else already figured out for you? If you have the time, go for it. But if you just have an hour a week to study Torah, so choose something that's most relevant to you. According to this understanding, nobody should be studying parts of the Torah that are not relevant. And Rabbi Eliezer is working on an assumption that the people who have the least time in a luxurious fashion to just sit and discuss deep, complicated, sophisticated topics are women. You might not like it, but he says really at the end of the day, Men don't do anything at home. They don't. Look at me. They don't do anything at home. You know, there was a man, someone sent me this week, he wrote a note to his son's teacher. And he said, "Dear teacher, my son was late to school today because what a father can do in 1 hour, what a mother can do in half an hour, a father can't even do in 1 hour. That's why he was late to school today." It was his turn to bring the kids to school. It's that kind of world. Now, is it fair to make such a generalization?
No.
It's not. It's not. I don't think it's fair. No, imagine this. Imagine there's a lady.
Generation. You should see these men today taking care
No,
of
they're
their
really terrific. They really are.
So this halakha may have changed. But imagine that Rabbi Eliezer is not as anti-woman as you would like him to be. Rather, he simply says in a world of priorities, a lady's priority wouldn't be to study Torah. Ben Azai says, I disagree with you. Because she won't even know what's going on in her own life if she doesn't study Torah. So you have to teach her Torah. That's where the Mishnah ends off. But then, when I was flipping through the pages of the Talmud, somewhere in 11th grade, I came across a very interesting teaching that nobody had showed me. And that's on the bottom of page 1. Tosfot, rabbi from France, made up of many rabbis from Germany, France. Some of them were the descendants of Rashi, grandchildren of Rashi. He says, Ben Azai Omer Chayav Adam. Ben Azai says you should teach your daughter Torah. The Yerushalmi says, the Ben Azai, the lo Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah. He says he disagrees with Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah. It's a different opinion. He says women should study Torah. I'm skipping a few lines. Matrona Shala, top of page 1 on the left-hand side, the Rabbi Eliezer. There was once a matrona. Who is a matrona? It's not a Jewish word. A matron, a Jew, a Roman royalty. She was like a princess. There were many of these floating around Israel at the time, and they would go ask rabbis different questions. They were very wealthy, intellectual ladies. And she went to ask Rabbi Elazar, "Mipnei ma chata chet achad b'maaseh ha'egel v'hen metim ba'gimel mitot." They only did one sin, those Jews in the desert, when it came to the golden calf. And they killed them in 3 different ways. They killed them with one little sin. Why such a big deal over worshipping some golden calf? Amar la, en isha chachama. Okay, I don't want to read the rest. It basically says that a woman is not smart enough to deal with these kind of Torah topics. Amar lahu kanus. I'm already in deep enough water. Amar lahu kanus. Beno. His son, Hurkanus, told him, "Bishvil shelo la'ashiva davar echad min haTorah, ibadta mimeni gimel me'ot kur maaser b'chol shana." He said, because you didn't want to answer some question, now she's mad at the family, and she used to support me in my synagogue, whatever it was. She used to give me 300 amounts of maaser, of money, of food, whatever it was that she was donating to him, and now I lost it because she's angry at my dad. Because if you don't want to answer one question because you're so stuck on women shouldn't study Torah, you made me lose out on so much money. You have to at least say dedication to the cause, because look at Rabbi Elazar's answer. Amar lo, says Rabbi Elazar, Yisrefu divrei Torah. It's better that they should burn the words of the Torah, v'lo yimseru divrei Torah l'nashim. And you shouldn't give words of Torah over to women.
Those are rabbis.
And who's saying this again? Who's saying this?
Rabbi Elazar.
Okay, sorry.
So Rabbi, let's go back to creation.
What are you going back to creation? I'm still in this source over here.
No, and those are rabbis that study creation. They are the chachamim.
Okay.
They are the chachamim of our time. Okay? So if we go back to creation, God created men and women together. Together. No?
Yeah. Yes, he did.
Together. And then he separated them.
He took one of his rib and created something.
Well, according to what she's saying, there's a midrash that says that they were connected in the back. They were one being.
Okay, so if they are together, then how stupid can a man be and separate what God created together?
God separated them.
But if that is true, then when we create, we contribute our kids through our genes to who we are. Then isn't women through the genes of a man for the man to separate it?
I don't understand.
This is God creation. when we create, our kids are similar to us, or the genes of genetic of who they come from.
Yes, but when
Yeah.
you separated them, it doesn't mean that they're equal. Men and women are not equal.
We're not talking about equal.
They're not the
We're talking
same.
about.
They're not
We're
the
talking about.
Not equal rights. I'm
We're
about
talking
they're not the
just
same. They're
about
different.
basic intelligence. Here, I mean, it's totally degrading a woman.
Ariella, wait a second. You're not being Ariella. You're not being fair. What if I would tell you? You see, you have to. This is how you study Gemara. Gemara is that when I'm learning something and I'm studying an argument between Hillel and Shammai, I can't agree with Hillel and then argue with Shammai. I can't do that because then I'm biased. What I have to do is put myself as if I was Shammai. What would I argue back to the person that I agree with? If you were Rabbi Elazar, where do you even pick up this world philosophy of women are not so intelligent, women are problematic? Where do you get that philosophy from?
Your mother.
Where do you get it? You say he had a tough mother? Ariella, think about it. You brought up creation. Is there not an opinion? Is there not an approach? You don't have to consider it valid.
Where else would you get
But is there not an approach that you sit down and you say,
Exactly right.
and you say, she caused the first sin in the Garden of Eden. She got us thrown out of the ideal world. It was all the woman's fault. You can't have such an understanding. The Christians don't still believe this?
Not if God didn't see it as such. If
No.
we study too
Ariella, wait 1 second. You have an opinion already. You can't have an opinion and then ask. You have to say, if I was being the other person, where would I find my grounding from in a Jewish source? There are enough Jewish sources that you could turn this way or that way, or not even have to turn them at all, to come out with some feeling that it was all her fault. It was really bad when we had ladies who were making decisions for the world. We got thrown out of the Garden of Eden. So if you're talking about creation, it's not a good place to start. If you want to talk about people like Sarai Imenu or Rachel Imenu, maybe we'll get down there.
But it was also partly Adam's fault because he told her that he made this fence. about
Wait,
saying-
but see, the problem is I agree with Ariella.
I think she has some substance to what you say.
Yeah, because I agree with her. That's why she has substance. You're right. This is a very angering thing. But it shouldn't surprise you that 2,000 years ago, you had male chauvinists also in the Jewish religion. And here you had people who were killing their wives off of cliffs. You can imagine that in the Jewish world, this was an accepted opinion.
It sounds very, very, very childish and simplistic for him to say something like that, really. That's not for me.
Actually, I'm trying to separate, because this is Rebbe's argument. This is what it is. And I'm saying if they are so holy and actually studying the Torah does not justify them. This is God's this is God's prescription of how the world should be, where the rabbis come and give their own idea of how the world should be. And that's
But
what
he is saying that I read the Torah, and the Torah says the Torah should be taught to your son and not to your daughter. So why should I teach Torah to my daughter?
Well, not according to how we explain the plural of.
But he doesn't agree with us.
No, but this is
And not giving the benefit of the doubt to God's creation.
What is he saying about them? He's not giving them. He's not.
It's debates. It's not halakha. This is debates. That's why he said that if someone has time, he study Talmud. But if not, you have to study halakha. So there are rabbis who went to the Talmud and derived the halakha from. These are debates.
Again.
And you're going to see that this is consistent. You're going to have these two camps in the Jewish world, unfortunately, until today.
Yeah.
Now, you might not have been aware of this, but I'm making you painfully aware of this. And I think the fact that I'm here in this room with you is proof enough that I'm not from one camp, but I'm from the other camp. All right, so don't throw anything at me. You can get mad, but not at me. In the interest of time, I want to skip through some of these sources.
Oh, one.
There's a Tosefta on the left side of the page. Tosefta says, Hazavin v'hazavot. All kinds of people who had emissions, men and women, vanidot v'ayildot, and ladies who are menstruating and ladies who just gave birth. Mutarim likrot b'Torah. They're allowed to read Torah. V'lishanot b'Mishnah. They're allowed to study Mishnah. B'Midrash. They're allowed to learn Midrash. B'Halachot. They can study Halakha. Uva-agadot, and they can study Agadah, the Talmudic teachings of the stories of the Talmud.
Thank you.
I'm on page 1.
The top of the page?
Now this is a source already from the times of the Mishnah. This is a source from the times of the Mishnah that says that not only any lady, but you would tell me maybe she's in a wrong time, it doesn't make a difference. Every person is allowed to study Torah and the Torah, the Mishnah, the Gemara, the Halakha. This is not some radical opinion that once upon a time some feminist rabbis woke up and decided to go. There are very old Jewish sources that don't even agree. They're not even in the same department as Rabbi Elazar. The hardest thing for people, especially Jews, to comprehend is that we fight with each other. I'll tell you that I feel this a lot recently. It's not the first time in the Jewish world the Jews fight with each other. And there are certain fights that will never be resolved. I'm sorry to tell you that. There will be fights that will never be resolved. Because when you believe in something, you're not supposed to compromise on it. This goes against what you were told somewhere in Sunday school. When you believe in something, you don't compromise on it. Rabbi Elazar believed very harshly that women shouldn't study Torah. They said, I'm even willing to lose all my money and they should burn the Torah and it should pass over. Now you might say he's crazy. I admire his integrity. You know how many rabbis have opinions that you pay them enough money and they'll change their mind?
Yes.
So at least he's not one of those guys. But it goes the other way. It goes the other way. There are rabbis here who say, look, I don't need you. We already have a Tosefta that says that women can study Torah. So what do you want from me? You want to now prove to me that it's incorrect? We're going to get there.
So, my argument is exactly that. So, back to Sefer Dvarim, which is in the Torah, and what it says in the Torah. So, how can a rabbi, if you want to read that?
We answered this question, Mariella. Remember we said the Torah was given first to women, and there are two ways to understand that. Either they got the Torah first because they were holy and they were special, or because they got the watered-down version that they weren't able to handle what the men got.
So how did they can come up with their opinion, feeling, opinion? Isn't that the same thing? And down to what is
opinion.
But the Torah, this is God creation.
But it's a debate.
Yeah. It's what?
They're debating.
It's a debate.
They have a right to
But
have
we're
an
going
opinion.
based on that because until
Why
today.
why do you want just to learn Ben Azai?
I'm sorry?
There has to be two opinions, or three, or five, or seven.
I want to learn Torah opinion the way it was meant to understand.
So that they both
I
want.
don't want to read it the way we all feel it in a different way. You say no feeling. I just want it exactly how God meant it, not how Rabbi meant
So
it.
if you say feelings, so they're
I'm not
different.
saying feeling.
They're
It
different
says,
that feel different things.
it says literally here, הקהל, העם, הנשים והאנשים, והטף, וגרך, אשר בשעריך. This means everybody must learn it. Everybody must know it. How can
So
you
let's-
come with a
let's- so
different
let's explain.
opinion than this?
This parasha is talking about there was a time called Hakel, where the king would read the Torah out loud to the whole Jewish country. And he had to bring men and women and children. The question is, why is everybody coming? What's the point of this whole gathering? To which the Gemara explains that some opinions are the men came to study Torah, the women came to hear the Torah, and the children came just to give merit to the people who brought them. Just so that they got a mitzvah for bringing their kids to shul. It seems that there are three different levels here. Or it would have just said, bring everybody. Why does it have to say bring the men and the women and the children? It seems that when the Torah separates things, it's separating them for a reason. Again, you have to know that the beauty of the Torah, and also the struggle that we have with different people who interpret the Torah, is the Torah speaks very vaguely about things. And the reason Torah speaks vaguely, how many times have you heard there are 70 opinions in the Torah? Would you want there to only be one opinion in the Torah?
No.
I would feel very stifled if I had to give in to somebody else all the time. Instead, I prefer the Torah speak vaguely. I might never know the full truth, but my truth can still fit in the Torah. I prefer it that way.
Well, I guess Rabbi Elazar also just fits into the Torah. And that's why a lot of them didn't know how to be Jewish, as Jewish as the Torah expects you to be. And we're still, 3,500 years later,
Very
we're
good.
still debating
Very good.
that.
Now that piece of Talmud which says that women only came to hear, Tosfot in the bottom. Remember Tosfot? He came back. Tosfot in the bottom, he says, that which it says the ladies come to hear, says this means it's not like Ben Azai. Because Ben Azai would say they also came to study. But Rabbi Elazar would say they only came to hear. Okay, so this is an argument that applies in very many different places in the Torah. It's not just in one place they argue, not just about Sotah, but in general about ladies studying Torah. So before you jump on my case, on the top of page 2, I brought down a few sources. These sources are going to make you smile. Okay. It's called Nashim Lamdaniyot.
What does that mean?
Torah scholars that were women.
Page 2? Where?
Yes.
Yeah, page 2, top right. Now, I actually have entire books of Torah scholars who were women. The Kehillat records some 50 Rabbaniyot that he recorded that are all holy ladies that are very learned. But let's read through some of these. In the Tosefta itself, top of page 2 on the right, the Tosefta itself, which is it's a Mishnaic Talmudic teaching, it says, Tanur me'ematai tameh, when does an oven become impure? And so they have all kinds of opinions. So in the middle it says, Amar Rabbi Chalafta. Rabbi Chalafta says, Ish kvar Chananya. He was from a village called Chananya. Sha'alti Shimon ben Chananya. I asked Shimon, the son of Chananya, this question. When does an oven become impure? Shesha'al b'no shel Rabbi Chananya ben Teradion. He went to ask the son of Rabbi Chananya, the son of Teradion. V'amar mishyisienu mimkomo ubito omeret. But his daughter had a different opinion than the son, and the daughter said this. And k'shleimu dvarim lifnei Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba. When they came back to Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba, they said, we went to go ask her a question. And the son of the rabbi said this, and the daughter of the rabbi said that. Says Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba, Yafeh amra bito. His daughter gave the correct answer. She was correct. She said a nice answer. So you find already in the times of the Mishnah and the Talmud, there were ladies who were studying Torah. It's a mistake to think that for all of our exile, women didn't study Torah, and came a few rabbis that were feminists and liberated them 20 years ago and let them study Torah. You clearly have from day one. You asked, how do you know they weren't studying Torah? I know because they themselves recorded their sources that they didn't give in to this other opinion. Did the other opinion exist? Well, it sure did. Does it still exist? Unfortunately, it still does. But you already have back then people who were learned Torah scholars, but we're not done yet. There's a rabbi called Maharil. The Maharil is an Ashkenazi rabbi, lived in Germany. I put the source 1427. He says, it says, though, that you're not allowed to teach your daughter Torah. He says, but we found ladies like Bruria. Bruria is the wife of Rabbi Meir, that she was a Torah scholar. He says, and we see also, the Talmud says, in the generation of Chizkiyahu, there was not a man or a woman, a boy or a girl, that did not know every halakha in the Torah. Everybody was knowledgeable of Torah. So clearly the opinion is not like that, says the Maharil. Leket Yosher, there's a book called Leket Yosher. It's a student of Rabbi Israel Israel, and also from Germany. Interesting, these sources are coming out of medieval Europe, which is not so conducive to women studying anything, let alone Torah. Men didn't even know anything in that world. It says, V'zichurani, he said, I remember my rabbi, Shekalato, how do you pronounce Ruddle? Resh Ayin Daled Yud Lamed? Reddle? Reidel? I don't know. Okay, it's not a Arabic name, I'll tell you that much. His daughter-in-law, Kalato, his daughter-in-law, Rudel, whatever you want to call her, Lomda lifnei zaken echad, she would study Torah with one old man, Sheshmo Rabbi Yudel Sofer. His name was Rabbi Yudel Sofer. Bebeit HaGaon, he was in the house of my master, the genius, that's all. B'makov sheberov b'nei habayit holchim sham. They did it in a public area where most people were walking through, that way they would never be alone together in some kind of room. But I remember that the daughter-in-law of our rabbi studied Torah with another rabbi from the generation. Voto zaken haya nasui. And this old rabbi, he was married. He was just recording recollections of his rabbi's house. So you find that in Europe, the rabbis were educating their daughters to study Torah by hiring for them other rabbis.
That makes sense.
Okay. The Maharshal, Rabbi Shlomo Luria, he's from Poland. He passed away in 1573. He says, Harabanit Marat Miriam. The Rabbanit, but he doesn't just call her Rebbitzin so-and-so. Marat is a term referred to only to our master. It's like the female version of Maran. Or Mar, really. Mar and Marat would be. This is our master, the Rabbanit Miriam, Tavsa Yeshiva, Kama Yamim Veshanim. She was the head of the yeshiva in Poland for years and years. V'yashva be'ohel, and listen how modest she was. Meaning she was not you'll see. She sat in her own tent. V'lon lefaneha, and she would have a curtain in front of her, like a mechita, nobody would see her. V'amra halacha lifnei bachurim uflagim, and she taught the advanced students of Talmud, she taught them halachot. They didn't see her. She's down in her own tent. She didn't sit in their study hall. But she would come. She was their rabbi. In this yeshiva in Poland in the 1500s. And by the way, these sources are not like random sources I pulled from. These are mainstream Jewish books. כך קיבלתי מאבותיי בכתב ובעל פה, עד כאן לשון אבי מורי זקני, מורנו הרב יוחנן לוריה. Says, this is what I received from my rabbi, my teacher, my father. I received that in Poland there was a yeshiva, and the Rosh Yeshiva was a woman. Her name was the Rebbetzin Miriam. We're doing pretty good in the Ben Azai department, right?
Yeah.
Everyone breathing a little bit more in the room now? Feel a little bit more... You know, what you see in the world is that there are many opinions that float around. But ultimately there are those which become victorious. And sometimes what rabbis couldn't agree on inside of the study hall already became decided upon in the streets of the Jewish community. And this is where customs are very important. I don't like customs so much. You've heard that from me many times. But sometimes customs tell you the people tolerated or didn't tolerate certain standpoints or certain opinions, and it wasn't necessarily a veto, but just, you're not going to impose your laws on me, and instead we followed a different opinion, and that's that. And I have many more such stories. I told you entire books of such stories about Rabbaniot that were Rosh Yeshiva and were leaders in their own right. I'm looking at the time. Did I once share with you a story from the Ben Ish Chai about a girl who was studying Torah in Baghdad and her father didn't want her to study Torah?
No.
Did I ever tell you this?
No.
You told us about
She
your
was
grandmother, the father, your
Oh yeah, my father, yes.
But
Can I ask for, if you need to go, please go, but can I have 5 minutes to share with you a last story? Can you bring me a book? It's on the top shelf of Chacham Ovadiah's writings. Right in front of you, the top shelf right there, all the way to the left is a book called Anaf Etz Avot. So good to be in my house. I have all my books here, you know.
That's why I like coming here instead of the shul.
I was waiting for you, Avril, to say that.
No, I wasn't straight. I could go to the house anytime.
I heard other people also say the same.
what did you say, Ari?
I heard other people saying the same. I feel the same too.
I feel
I
the
feel
same.
the same. It's just more comfortable.
It's Hamish.
It's Hamish. It's learning. It's
It's
just
learning.
nice. It's learning more for me than it's just
Nothing like home.
no.
That's what Dorothy said.
Then it must be true.
I thought it was on page 9 bit. I'll tell you the story by heart from what I remember. Did I tell to the ladies as well? There was a man in Baghdad, says the Ben Ish Chai, Rabbi Yosef Chaim in Baghdad.
You know where?
It was somewhere in the beginning, like Mem Bet, I thought, but I must be, maybe Nun Bet. Look at Nun. It's about a lady who studied Torah in Baghdad.
What would
It's on my laptop. I actually typed it up the other week.
What would it have been under?
Give us the Cliff Notes.
The Cliff Notes version. The Ben Ish Chai, who by the way, he's on page, I translated what he wrote into English, on page 3. You'll see, therefore it appears,
The impact of modernity.
underneath that one. See, therefore it appears,
Left-hand column.
yeah. Therefore it appears that it is improper. This is the Ben Ish Chai. After Kabbalah, he says that what Tikkun Chatzot, that midnight prayer, is only relevant to men, according to Kabbalah. It's to fix all kinds of sins that men do, and it's not relevant to women. So therefore it appears that it is improper for women to say Tikkun Chatzot, both Tikkun Rachel and Tikkun Le'ah. But there is no objection to the oral Torah, and the custom in our homes is that women start before dawn, but they do not say Tikkun Chatzot. They just learn Petichat Eliyahu, that's from the Zohar, and other similar texts. This is my grandmother of blessed memory. Now you have to imagine, the Ben Ish Chai lived about 120 years ago. So his grandmother must be from which generation? How many years? About? At least 180 years ago, 200 years ago? Yeah, something like that. This is my grandmother of blessed memory used to learn 18 chapters of Mishnah. That means that she would wake up before dawn while all the men were meditating on Kabbalah and Tikkun Chatzot. The ladies would go to the other room and study Zohar and oral law, and she was busy doing her 18 chapters of Mishnayot every day. So you find that even in a place like Baghdad, you're talking about a very Middle Eastern Muslim country that today they don't even let women study, let alone what it looked like a few hundred years ago. This is his grandmother. Every night when the men were doing Tikkun Chatzot, she was already awake studying Mishnah. So you find that it's not a radical concept in Judaism. But the story that I want to say was the Ben Ish Chai himself records that in Baghdad there was a man who was a rabbi and he had a daughter that he wanted her to not be an ignoramus. He wanted her to study Chumash and the Parsha and such things. So he hired a young rabbi to teach her Chumash. He paid him a lot of money, and he would sit with her and he would learn with her. And he planned for a few years. He paid him prepaid. The way it worked is there were no schools, so you would hire somebody to come live with you for, let's say, 3 years. You had a contract with them. I'll support you for 3 years. I'll give you a room, and you get this amount of money every month. But here you can get it up front, whatever it was. And it was an obligation on both sides. And they would say, so how long does she need to study Parsha? 2 years, whatever it was then. And so they came and they studied together. And about a year and a half into the program, she already finished everything that she was supposed to do in that few year period. She already knew everything. She was a very smart young girl. And so the rabbi asked the students, what do you want to study now? She said, my father is a rabbi. He studies Talmud all day in the yeshiva. I want to know what it's like also. She said, of course. So we have another year left on the clock, whatever it was. He takes the Talmud, they start to learn. And she became brilliant in Talmud study. And then halachot and all kinds of things. One day the father came in to check on his daughter, and he sees she's studying Talmud. He blew up. He had a fit. What is going on? What are you studying? He said, I'm studying Talmud. He said, why? What about that? I'm paying him to teach you Chumash. So she said, we already finished Chumash like half a year ago. Now we're studying this. I'm very good at it. Look, I can learn. And he was so angry. He went to the teacher and said, I already paid you for a few years in advance. Take all your money. Get out of my house. And he threw him out of his house. But he paid him. He said, you already finished your job. Stop wasting your time teaching these ladies Torah. And the girl was very sad. And what she would do is her father would study in the yeshiva here. And outside there was a window. And she would go, sneak out and listen to him studying with her study partner. And she would always hear him, and she was quiet. For years went by, she didn't tell him anything. One day there was a guest that came to the house. And he turned out to be a Torah scholar who was in disguise. He pretended to not be a Torah scholar. This happened a lot. Torah scholars were traveling. They didn't want to gain any attention. For example, you have celebrities and they walk around with fake mustaches and wigs. They want to go shopping, but they can't go shopping the way they look, so they dress up in a different way. The same idea. They came dressed like poor people. So he came to collect money by this man. Then he said, I want this kind of coin. And he spoke all kinds of funny words that the owner of the house, the rabbi, he thought he was just a simple person. But the girl realized that the words he was using were all allusions to different things. He said, for example, what's your name? He said, my name is Chaim ben Chaim. What kind of name is that? He said, okay. Where are you from? He said, I come from the town where you come from. And all kinds of things like that he was answering, and they gave him a coin. The girl says, Father, you didn't understand anything. What does it mean, Chaim ben Chaim? He said, Torah is life. He's like, I'm the son of the Torah. And where do I come from? He said, I come from, it says, I will never go. I only come from a place of Torah. That's what the Mishnah Perkei Avot says. He was telling you he's a Torah scholar, and all of the hints you didn't pick up on it. He says, how do you know all these things? He says, how do you know all these things? She says, because I study Torah still, and the Torah has made me very wise. And they went to the rabbi, and the rabbi said that you should keep studying Torah. And the Ben Ish Chai writes this in his book to record. It's a tragedy, it's a terrible thing that has happened, that we have women that are ignorant of their own Jewish texts, especially in a place where they were allowed to do such. They were allowed to be learned, they were allowed to know more. Rabbi Yosef Massas has a story in one of his books about a lady who she studied Torah, and her parents wanted her to get married and all kinds of things, and he said, no, let her study Torah, and she became the leading Torah scholar of her town, and in fact there was a certain plague that was coming to town, and they were all saved because of the merits of this lady's Torah. The stories are endless. We're not done this topic. Next week I hope to continue. To ask you, what does the Rambam say? What does the Shulchan Aruch say? What do the rabbis today say? What do the Lubavitch Rebbe say? What do Rabbi Moshe Feinstein say? What do Rabbi Soloveitchik say? What do Rabbi Ovadia Yosef say? What is being done on the streets today? All of that is for next week, but for right now, we're stuck here. Everyone should have a beautiful Hanukkah.